Hey folks, by popular request, and by that I mean no one, this is literally a new channel, we're gonna learn today how to do the muscle up both on the rings and on the bar, and not just the muscle up, but the slow muscle up. Okay, maybe you won't be that slow at first, but believe me, you will get pretty close once you get the hang of it.
Cover them up so you don't see beyond the mask.
Before we start, I'm gonna say one thing. This is not a strength-based tutorial, but rather a technical one which focuses on the little tips and technical aspects of the movement to make the muscle up, 1, more effortless, 2, more control, and 3, more elegant. These are the 3 aspects that I like to focus on this particular type of movements, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Between the 2 muscle ups, the ring one is quite a bit easier, so I would suggest starting with this. You can generally divide the muscle up into 3 parts: the pull-up part, the transition part, and then the dip part. If you're watching this, I assume you're quite intermediate, so you know how to do a pull-up and a dip, which is why today we're going to focus mostly on the transition part. But before we start, I need to show you one more thing, which is the grip. So in both situations, you want to have a false grip. So on the rings, it looks a little bit like this. Your wrist is on top of the rings and it's resting on the cushioning of the palm. And if you don't know where that is, it's basically this line, diagonal line that leads into this cushioning bit of the palm. Now, if you have your ring a little bit towards your fingers, it's going to be really hard to transition and rotate. And if you have it too low, it's going to rest on this bone here, which is very painful. So you want to play with it and figure out your ideal position so that when you start, you're resting on this cushioning part. Okay, so this is what it actually looks like. Once you start, you're gonna have your false grip just like that. If you start like this or like that, it doesn't matter. Once you start pulling in, you're gonna slowly pull with your elbows facing forwards rather than sideways like this. So you're gonna pull until your knuckles and your palms essentially touch your chest. Now there's a couple of things to notice here, and the first one is that the rings are facing, well, the palms are facing inwards with the knuckles towards each other or even towards your chest. Okay, and your feet are gonna come naturally a bit higher, potentially into the L-sit, just to compensate, okay? Now, at this point, what you want to do is to tuck your elbows in, push them backwards, and as you push them backwards, you're gonna rotate from your wrists so that instead of facing towards each other or towards your chest, they're gonna face towards your feet. Okay, your feet are naturally going to drop a little bit just to allow you to lean more, and your shoulders are gonna come just on top of your palms essentially to enter into the space of the ring here. So once you're here, you're pretty much on top, and the only thing to do is just to push up, okay? So when you go back down, it's the same way. You first go in until your shoulders get into the rings here, and your knuckles are gonna face towards your feet. Then you're gonna do the same thing backwards. You're gonna start bringing the elbows forward. The knuckles are gonna face in again, and then you're in the same position to just go down. Okay.
Open hands clutching on my lip, this a war zone. It's a war zone. Yo, this a motherfucking war zone. It's a war zone.
On the bar, things change ever so slightly, and I have this toy that we use to play a fighting game in our household, and today is going to be the guinea pig for this demonstration. So the principle is fairly the same, except that what changes is when you pull up to here, your hands cannot move more backwards because the bar is stopping. So what you actually want to do is grip, and sometimes I do this movement just to adjust my grip once I'm in this position. And then what I want to do is rotate my wrist down and squeeze just like this, okay? So once more from this position, I'm gonna rotate and squeeze like this. And the analogy I often like to use when I teach this movement is imagine you're in a motorbike, not in a motorbike, obviously. You're on a motorbike and you're trying to accelerate as fast as you can. This is the exact same motion, except that you need to squeeze incredibly hard. Squeeze as much as you can. Oftentimes when I do this, I feel a lot of tension in the forearm, but that's what it is, okay? So, reviewing the motion, you're gonna start once again from here, extend it all the way, start pulling in, elbows facing forward again, until you pull all the way up to your chest. And here what you're gonna do again, bring the elbows in and try to squeeze down like that as hard as you can. Now what happens is that you see that my arms are going down because this one is freestanding, but once you're up there, instead of the bar rotating, the effect that it has is that you're coming on top. So once you squeeze and you're coming on top here, you're gonna lean a little more, and then the rest is easy. It's just a dip, you press up as before, okay? Same way down, you can come here, rotate, you can even stop. Usually it's a bit easier to stop if you come from the dip and then go back again, okay? This is actually how I learned, and this is one suggestion. Instead of coming all the way from down to go up and then back down, I suggest you do start in this position and you try to lower down up to here, and then you try to squeeze really hard and lean until the bar comes above your chest and not here, essentially. And you're gonna get a feel for what it feels like to go above and below the bar, which is essentially a negative muscle up. So do a few of these and see how it feels, but that's essentially it.
Yo, this a motherfucking war zone. It's a war zone. Yeah, feel the impact.
One thing that I feel it needs to be pointed out is what happens to the core and the feet in both of these type of movements, okay? So ideally what you would have is engage the core, do a pelvic tilt so that it's nice and tight, point the feet, and this is important, you have to engage and point the toes as hard as you can. And the reason you're doing that is because this is going to eliminate any energy leaks that you have. And if you do that, once you're going to pull up and start rotating, your feet are naturally going to come up, which will act as a leverage to pull your center of gravity higher, and this makes the movement a lot easier. Now, the stronger you get, the less you need to bring the feet higher, but that comes with time. And I assume at first, and as you've seen probably in the first couple of minutes of this video, my feet were in the L-sit position, which is the optimal one to be able to go on top of the bar or on top of the rings. Okay. Now, last thing I'd like to say is that if you follow all these tips and it feels like you're just about getting it, but you're missing that little bit of strength that you have, then it could be that you actually need to get a bit stronger to get that bottom baseline of strength that you need for these movements. And this video doesn't cover it, but if you are interested, let me know down in the comments, and I will make a separate video which is purely based on how to get the strength required for the muscle up. Today was purely in terms of technical and little aspects that you can control, just to give you that elegance in both of these muscle ups. Okay, so hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful and you will make a difference in your muscle up journey. If you have any questions, do let me know down in the comments. Until next time.